Hey there, welcome to Becoming More Me, the podcast for busy-minded entrepreneurs that want to be more and do less. These episodes are here to inspire you to become more of the person you feel called to be, while flipping things to appreciation and letting it all be easy. I'm your host, Teresa Lear-Levine. I work in nervous system regulation and the subconscious mind, and I am also the best-selling author of Becoming More Me, Tapping into Success, Subconscious Secrets of an ADHD Entrepreneurial Mom, helping you get out of your own way, shed light on your shadows, and call your power back so that you can make this never-ending journey of becoming one you can truly enjoy getting present for is my jam. And today we are going to dive into habits, resistance to creating them, the issues we get when we go to follow through on them, and I'm actually going to highlight 3 of my own personal habits that make every day of my life better. So I hope this serves you and inspires you to reevaluate or recreate your own habit chain. It all starts now. It will never cease to amaze me the disheveled states that I will bring myself to you in if you watch the video version of my podcast. I feel like when I do a solo episode, I am usually compelled at unusual times. They're not really unusual. They're just not when I'm dressed and made up and looking camera ready. That's all. So I really should just stop criticizing myself for it. But it always surprises me. So I literally just got back from my walk. It's kind of this beautiful morning this morning. It was rainy. Now the sun's peeking through. It's spring. My red buds are blooming like crazy outside of the front of our house, my favorite trees. And the sun was coming up over the treetops, just illuminating all that bright spring green in the big tall trees. My sneakers are still wet on my feet from all the puddles that were still on the ground that I was trekking through. And I was just really feeling inspired. I woke up this morning and I had a new pair of shoes that I was putting on to do my workout with my husband in our, basement area where we work out before he goes to work. And I posted it because I wanted to share about habits that I have. I was reminded by one of my dear coaches and the, group I meet with multiple times a week to work on my own business coaching, personal development, get support, that sort of thing. And we were talking about the way that we share on social media, the way that we show up, what we want to be known for, how we want to help people, all of those kind of North Star guiding forces within ourselves and our businesses. And I was realizing that although I do try to share a lot of that kind of stuff, I'm probably short of where I'd like to be, especially with the personal sharing. And there were resistance points that came up around it, like knowing that I have tons of content, but then having to sort through it and create captions or create something creative to share it on social media. And realized it'd be a lot easier just to kind of share some little snippets and stories that don't need to be curated and save the deeper dives for my podcast right here, because this doesn't feel overwhelming to me. This feels fun and expansive and in the energy that I want to be in. Whereas if I tried to convey all the different things that I want to share with you on this podcast via social media, it would probably be the equivalent of like 100 different reels or posts or stories. It would be overwhelming. I'd be bored of it before I ever had a chance to release it all and on to the next thing. So I've been finding better ways to honor my ADHD brain, my creativity, and what I want to share, and really trying to point people, while there's great stuff that I'm sharing that's different on social media, the longer form content is here in my podcast. So we were meeting, we were talking about that. And then this morning, and I, shared this picture of my shoes at like 4:30 in the morning and noticed that it has been the better part of a decade since I began the habit of waking up before my kids. And back in those days, it was hit or miss because I was even having children during that period of the last 10 years. My youngest is 7. And sometimes the others would wake up earlier than you expect to, or have a bad dream or whatever else. So the consistency, I really had to try for it a lot harder than I do now. I mean, sometimes my kids wake up early now, but they're of an age now where I can say, hey, I'm in the middle of my workout, and they've grown up seeing me work out in the morning, knowing that that is the foundation of my day. And also knowing that I am not the happiest if I have to stop doing my workout. Even on rest days, like where I intentionally rest, I feel like something's missing at this point because it has become such a habit. But there was this realization that it's been the better part of a decade, and just really letting it sink in that these habits that are at one point in our life, they feel insurmountable, difficult. We have to do a lot of preparation to make them happen, become easier over time. When I was first starting to do this, I remember I was really struggling with kind of getting some weight off after having my now 10-year-old. And I didn't feel like anything that I was doing was really working. I had tried a lot of different things and I was feeling a little stuck. And I had been talking with someone, and she had suggested a particular exercise program and some supplementation. And I was really, I mean, it took me months before I was like, yes. I think the investment was somewhere around $120 or something. And that felt significant at the time as far as like investing in myself, which is crazy considering how much I invest in myself and how easily I invest in myself now. But that too is a habit and a muscle and something that needs to be grown. So back then, I remember I really had to plan in advance. I needed to sometimes like set things up in the morning, like my pre-workout and my water to drink during my workout, and know exactly what workout I was doing and how long it was going to take so that I could reverse engineer, set my alarms for the morning, have my workout clothes laid out, and even what I was going to change into afterwards if I had the time to shower. And those preparatory things are what allowed it to become a habit. Because if I had just woken up every day whenever and thought that I might get down there, I would have gotten hung up like, oh gosh, what am I going to put on? Or, when's the baby going to wake up? I don't have time. I would have gotten caught up in different thoughts or beliefs that would have prevented me from following through. But 10 years later, now sometimes I do things to prepare, especially if I know the morning's going to be kind of tightly timed, or sometimes we work out like super early because my husband has a flight or something like that. And some night before setup is helpful, but I don't need it anymore either. I can get up. Now I kind of have my closet organized, so it's easy to pick out an outfit to work out in, and it's easy to figure out what I'm going to wear after that, and it's easy to get whatever I need before my workout to energize and hydrate and everything else, and it's part of the routine, and it's a part of the time that we build in. My husband and I actually had to look at when we started working out together, because that wasn't part of the habit either. Now we work out together. That built in a year or so after I started doing it. So those first couple of years, I was really pushing to create the habit because I didn't have a partner doing it with me. I had a partner that was supportive of me doing it. And, if the kids woke up and it wasn't a time that he was at work, would help. But it was a lot harder at the beginning than it is now. And a lot more habits got created because of that habit. And now not only do we work out in the morning, but we also try to get outside and take a walk during the day. There's healthy changes in the way that we eat and the activities that we do and what we find nourishing. So one habit can definitely lead to a lot of other habits. And I was just kind of examining that this morning mentally and thinking about all of the habits that are baked into my day. Because when we were having this conversation, through business coaching and things, it was like, you share about these things. And I'm like, I don't just have one or two habits that I could like repeatedly share day after day. And I'd also get bored of that. Like if my habit every day was to share about like my pre-workout routine, I would personally get bored about sharing that every day. I don't mind sharing it. I'm happy to share when people ask. And sometimes I do share it in things like my stories, but I don't love the repetition of the same thing over and over as far as sharing it. I love the repetition of the same thing over and over as far as routine in my life. I'm very much a creature of habit. I have a great understanding now of how neurons that fire together wire together, and I actively try to unwire things as well. And that is at the heart of the work that I do. That is subconscious mind work. That is nervous system regulation. That is the coaching I provide, and it's the self-coaching that I do. And it's what I want to be an example of through what I share and what I do, because I am very conscious of living a life that is in alignment with how I coach others to create the life of their dreams and desires also. So, hey, before we continue with the episode, one quick question. Have you joined the Becoming More Me community on School? If yes, I'm so grateful for you. And if no, what are you waiting for? I have an amazing free community that houses over $15,000 worth of my most requested resources, things you can start digging into and using today, actionable resources to start changing how you feel and show up in your life. Things that are going to support you on your never-ending journey of becoming, and amazing community members to support you as well. Hop over to school.com, that's SKOOL.com/discovery, and put my name in the search bar, Teresa Lear Levine. You will see the Becoming More Me community pop right up, and you can request to join from there. Inside of the community, you will find a full classroom of resources, as well as anything that you need in order to join my small group coaching or my one-on-one coaching. And I can't wait to see you over there. Again, go to www.school.com/discovery, type in my name, Teresa Lear Levine, and request to join the Becoming More Me community. I can't wait to see you there. If you're looking to add new habits into your life, realize it's not always like an overnight thing. Give yourself time and give yourself grace, and also realize that some habits are not meant to be. This still happens to me all the time. I bought a beautiful journal at the beginning of this year thinking that I would track certain things differently in this pretty space, and I kept up with it great for the first month, and then it was like blank for the second month. I just didn't even pick it up. It didn't resonate. So I was being a little hard on myself at first, like, hey, you invested in it. This was supposed to serve you in this way. And then I realized I had other things that were serving me in that way, and it was okay, and that just wasn't for me. And perhaps there's a part of me that should have realized that in advance, but I really wanted it to be something that would work, and it just didn't. I've talked before on different shows, and I've even shared my process around my daily planning, but I used to be one of those people that would buy all the different planners and think that somehow it was going to change my life instead of me changing my life. So many people out there doing that, just thinking like this planner is going to solve the issue of my own resistance or my own lack of motivation or my own disconnection or so many things. And then I got really simple about how I do my planning. And now it's like I have a digital document on my Remarkable tablet that I am able to keep up with my to-do lists very easily. And you can hear all about that in other podcast episodes. I'm not going to go into that here, but I am going to share that one of my favorite, it's not my favorite thing. I don't love doing it. But one of the things that serves me the most is a practice that I've called next day neat. And what that means is that when I get to the end of my workday, which I have pretty much declared is when my kids come home from school, I take time between then and when I go to bed at night. It's not always before they get home from school. Sometimes I am rushing up to the last minute and until that bus pulls up and drops them off to do things that are actually on my list. And sometimes I need to do this with 5 minutes before I go to bed at night. But I take all the things that didn't get done that day because I am still someone who puts too much on my list. But unlike the someone I used to be that put too much on my list and then beat myself up for not doing it, even though it was never possible in the first place, it's more like, hey, these ideas, like I know what the priorities are. I pick 3 things every day that are the priority, and whatever doesn't get done outside of that, it's like, whatever, it can get shifted to another day, another time. Maybe it's not important to do ever. That will make itself present at some point. But I take those few minutes to reorganize the next day and make it neat, to know what the 3 priorities are for the next day, and to even understand. For me, it's actually really helpful to understand the time that different tasks take. So my 3 priorities might be things that take an hour. And if they take a longer period of time like that, I also want to look at, does this get broken down into smaller things that maybe take 20 minutes each or something like that? Because sometimes we look at those larger chunk tasks and we get overwhelmed and we avoid them. I do, at least. I can get resistant to those things. And that is when we go looking at our list for those 5-minute tasks or those things that don't really move the needle on anything. Maybe they need to get done. Maybe not today. Maybe it would be fine if they got done in a month. But we choose those instead for the dopamine hit and because they don't take as long. And then we don't do the things that actually make a difference in our life. So I try not to put too many of those things on my list unless they feel like they are actually important to do, because I know what my habit is for choosing them. Or I will mentally time block my day where I know that between 9 and noon, I'm only working on the bigger task. I'm not even allowed to touch those things. And if I start drifting off, I'm working on one tab on the thing I'm supposed to be working on, and all of a sudden I'm opening another tab and I'm shopping for something on Amazon or whatever, I now am so much more aware and also willing to catch myself and redirect myself. That took a long time, and that is a great application for EFT tapping when you find yourself resisting the work that needs to be done. But it's a matter of retraining your brain. And now when I start drifting off, if it's something that I do want to do, but just not then, I write it down. That way I don't forget it, or I leave the tab open. Lord knows my poor Google Chrome browser has like 131 tabs open on it right now. But then my tabs are categorized in, other tabs, and they get shut down, and then they're not in front of my face. But I write it down, and then I tell my brain, because my brain that's taken me off in other places, that what I really want to do is that larger, more important task that I told myself I was going to work on, and that's what I'm going to do now. And it can literally sound just like that. I'd be like, you know what? What I actually want to do is fill in the blank, and I don't need to do this right now. So I'm closing this tab. I'm writing this down. I will come back to this later. But what I've committed to doing with this time is whatever the item is. And sometimes I say it out loud. Sometimes I say it in my head. Sometimes I give myself a little tap somewhere to kind of make sure it sinks in. And it does work wonders because our brain wants to please us and it wants to do what we tell it we want to do. So it's very important that we are always giving our brain messages that are aligned with what we actually desire and want. Otherwise, it's just going to take us to some other form of something pleasurable, something that doesn't feel uncomfortable. And those are not the things that change us. Hey, interrupting this episode super quick because I'll bet you didn't know that you can hop on a free, no strings, 15-minute call with me and get answers and insights into those things that are challenging you the most in your life and business right now. And receive several insights from me that will really help you to start moving the needle in those areas where you desire transformation, be it your business, your personal life, your health, wealth, relationships, all the things. So go to gamechangingconversation.com, select a time, and we will meet and have a conversation about what's going on in your life and the outcomes that you would most like to create in the next several months. Can't wait to meet you and chat with you on a call. Now back to the episode. So, like I always am preaching about, our awareness really matters. And we can go through life unaware. We're always going through life unaware of certain things. That's just a given. But when we can get that awareness in the areas of our life where we really want to change, then we can actually make that change. Otherwise, we're always going to be going through a brain or body reaction to our changes, which is essentially like, holy shit, I don't want her to change. I don't want to change. We all want change, but we don't want to change. And we certainly don't want someone to change us. And that's where resistance can come in relationship, because when we feel like someone else wants us to change, usually that resistance dials up for people. So that's where awareness becomes really important in relationship. And at the end of the day, change is the only constant. So we might as well be part of it instead of expecting everything else to change, because we are inevitably going to change. So can we please align those changes with what we actually want? And that's the work I do. And it's the work I'm doing in my own life. I'm very open about how my husband and I have been really digging in, especially over the last year, to making our marriage even better, and always leaning in to the improvement, even when it's great. And I was noticing over the holidays, it wasn't the holidays, but it was that time of year, that I was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-doubt, and I was also just really tired. It was, like I said, it was the holidays, which naturally do have a lot of tiring things going on. It was the heels of time after I published my book, and that was a 9-month birthing process that I needed time to recover from, even though there was a lot of feelings and voices in my head telling me all the things I should be doing now that the book is out. I was having a lot of anxiety, and I knew some things that would help me to feel better. And through the work that my husband and I have done over the last year, and through the closeness that we've been able to cultivate, even more so than we've ever had before, I find myself more readily okay with asking for what I need, instead of just hoping that he'll deliver it, read my mind, whatever. Ladies and men, nobody's reading our minds. And we have to share what we want, or we're not going to get it. And it's not easy, and it's not comfortable. But when you know that you have a good bond and strong love and good support, and that someone will listen to you, it does get easier. Easier is not the right word, but it becomes something that you can lean into without fear of rejection or that kind of thing being so dominant that you don't do it at all. So in this time, I first started kind of old patterns, feeling like, gosh, why doesn't he understand that I'm, feeling anxious? Or how does he not know me well enough to see that I'm kind of struggling right now? And then I was like, well, that's stupid, Teresa. And I don't talk to myself like that. But I'm thinking, hey, if I don't tell him, how is he supposed to know? And perhaps there were some telltale signs, and maybe there were things he could have picked up on. Maybe he was already doing things to try to meet me there and help. He's more of an action taker. It's less likely that he would say, it seems like you're stressed and anxious, what can I do to help? He would probably just step in and, do something extra around the house, or do something extra with the kids, or give me more time for what I need, that kind of thing, which is great. But I kind of need to hear it. I need to know that he understands and hear it voiced. So that's a kind of a difference that we have, and something that we've been more clear on. So I let him know how I had been feeling really anxious, and that it really helps me, like when I do yoga nidra or meditation, to usually I put a hand on my heart and a hand kind of on my belly, my womb space. And even just now, just doing that now, it just opens things up for me and it calms me down. And I really wanted to bring the co-regulatory aspect of that into relationship with him. And I found myself asking for it at times when I needed it. And I'd say, we'd wake up, usually it was in the morning, or sometimes it was in the middle of the night, even when I'd wake up and feel anxious. And I'd say, can you put a hand on my heart? And he would. And then as time passed and I asked for it more, I kind of explained what it was about. And it actually became something that we both really enjoyed. And he also enjoys when I put a hand back on his heart, or like when I rub his chest or whatever else. So it's kind of funny, but over the months, it has literally developed into a habit where when our first alarm of the morning goes off, and I could wake up at the first alarm. I'm up before alarms anyway, but he likes alarms and he likes to press snooze once or twice before he gets up. So I can roll with that, because usually I'm listening to my vision casting and doing, meditation or hypnosis or something. So I like that time too. And so the first alarm goes off, and we usually kind of like move a little closer to each other, or, kind of find ourselves like active cuddling at that point. And then the second alarm goes off, hand on heart. Like, it's like clockwork now. And then for that second period of snooze, that 8 to 10 minutes, we're just like bonding hand on hearts, breathing. And it's such a nice way to start the day. But I just wanted to share that, because that is a habit. And that is a habit that didn't start overnight. And it's a habit that we both love, and it starts the day off on a beautiful positive note, and it connects us. And I love it. And I have not been feeling that anxiousness since we started doing that on a regular basis. I've also been taking care of myself in other ways, but it contributes to me feeling calmer, more relaxed, more present, and more connected to my husband. So maybe there's something like that you want to build in as a habit. And I feel like oftentimes we think that if a habit's not productive, like working out, because we have a goal, and I work out because I like working out, whether or not I have a current desire to lose weight or gain strength or improve, something else that I'm working on, I work out because I enjoy it at this point, and because I feel better, more energized, more focused, more me when I do. So yeah, it might have started from a place of dissatisfaction, but dissatisfaction is a creative state from which, when we create habits, beautiful things can happen. So even though the hand on heart habit doesn't maybe seem productive, it totally is, because when I can walk into the day feeling calm, connected, and creative and confident, everything's easier. All those things that I might have resisted or might have not felt in connection with or aligned with, even though they're things that I want, I do them more easily. So reassess your habits and see what's serving you, see what you want to add, see what layers would be nurturing, nourishing, and feel good for you. And I can't wait to hear about it. Shoot me a line over on Instagram and let me know what habits are serving you. And hopefully by sharing a few of mine, it's helped you to maybe reframe some things and maybe think of some things that you'd like to add to your life and have them be things that truly do add to your life. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day. I appreciate you. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.